Hey peeps! So I haven't done a plant tour in about a year, and if I remember rightly, the last one I done was the end of summer last year, so I think it's high time for an update as a lot has changed and we've got some progress and some new additions and some things have gone. So let's have a little catch up and do a little bit of a tour. And seeing as I'm here, we may as well begin with my little selection on this cabinet here. And we've got, of course, my Hoya compactor, or Hoya canosa compactor, or I call him Bob Marley because, you know, reminds me of dreadlocks. And he's doing quite well. He's done some growing, and he's putting out this new growth here. And I've done some cuttings, but I don't have them anymore as I gave them away. They were part of some gifts that I'd given to some friends and donated to the local plant library. That's a new addition to my community, which is nice. So that's what I've got, minus the cuttings that I've took, so it was a little bit shorter, but not much has really changed there. Then we've got my Ionium, and a lot has changed here because the last time I think I showed this one I had just taken the cutting, so it was level with this pot here, and you can see it's done a whole lot of growing. And not only that, where is it? It's actually giving off its first branch offshoot here, which I'm quite excited about. Now, these things grow quite fast, as you can see. So yeah, it's been about, I think again a year, so this is like a year's worth of growth, and as you can see, that's a whole lot of growth. There's a top view of it. And in this little cup here, I've got some cuttings of my Christmas cactus, or Schlumberger no, it's not the truncata, it's the Buckley eye, that was it. The true Christmas cactus, and it's looking a bit shrivelly and soft at the moment, but I'm hoping it roots and doesn't just die off, so we'll see what happens there. We've got my fairy castle cactus. I always want to call it fairy tale cactus, but that's wrong. And this one's done quite a bit of growing since I got it, because when I got it, it was in like one of those tiny pots, and there was a couple in there. So the size it is now, it's kind of the size, well, a little bit bigger than the size it was with the two plants that was in the tiny pot that it came in. I'm really happy about this one. It's very low maintenance, very undemanding. I think I give it water something like once a month, something like that, and it never really complains. It's probably one of my quietest house plants that I own, and I love it. And I'm not usually one for cactuses. Yeah, so this one doesn't really have prickles. It has some, but they're very, I don't know if you can see or if it's going to focus, but it has some very fine ones and they don't stab you. I mean, I'm touching it. See, no pain. So as far as cactuses go, or cacti go, I should say, I like this one. It's a friendly cactus. Then we've got my Rhipsalis. I'm not quite sure the name of this type. I don't think it's the dancing bones one. They all look so similar that I lose track of what type is what, but this is a Rhipsalis, and I'm really proud of this one because this is one of the early houseplants that I've got a couple of years back, and it was just some small cuttings. I don't know if you can see them in between the bushes, but it started off with a couple of very small cuttings, and over the years this is what it's grown and bushed out into. So I'm really happy about this one, and again, this is a very undemanding one. I give it water about once a week, and it stands here in bright medium light, and it's happy. It doesn't really give me any trouble, and just keeps growing and looking fabulous. And And I've got my ficus ginseng bonsai here, and I trimmed this one back quite some months ago, but it's grown back nicely. It's a bit dry at the moment. But the trick with these ones is not to let it dry out, otherwise you start to get a lot of yellow leaves and leaf drop. But I kind of lapsed over the last couple of days, so I should really give this guy some water, because I don't like to sit too dry for too long. So yeah, there's the ginseng. Now, this pot here of my Portulacaria afra variegata, or variegated elephant bush, I used to have in a long, a long terracotta planter by the window. But one day I went over and I noticed it had been completely decimated, and turns out that my dog decided to dig in it and bury a biscuit. So I had to move all the cuttings that I had into this pot here, the ones that survived, and the rest I gave to my sister-in-law. But yeah, it seems to be growing readily, so I don't mind. I've got plenty, plus I've got two more upstairs, so that's where I've moved them to now. And I have another Rhipsalis here. Again, it's similar to this one, but it's a little different in structure, and it's a little bit more hairier and stubbier and not as long like this one. And again, I'm not quite sure what this type is, but it's a Rhipsalis. And again, I started this one from some cuttings in my large succulent planter, which I'll show you in a little bit. And this is part of what grew, so I moved it to this pot here so I can have a single pot of it. And what's left in the planter is really going nuts, and I'll show you that in a minute. Over here, it's a cutting of my Monstera deliciosa albo, or variegated Monstera. And it's rooted, which I'm really happy about, and since I took the cutting at the beginning of the summer, this large aerial root here has grown. See if I can, you can see here there's some roots going on under here. I'm not going to disturb it too much, but it's rooted. And the reason why this is missing a leaf here is because it was a pure white one, so I just cut it off. And this is how the cutting looks at the moment. It's not giving off any new growth other than that aerial root and the roots under the soil there, but hopefully something nice happens with it, and I'll have to make a video to update you all on that one. But that's what it's doing at the moment. Now, here is a little cutting of a Golem Jade. Now, I did have a small bonsai and a larger mother plant, but unfortunately a little bit of an uh-oh happened, and the large one rotted, and my small one, yeah, it went the same way. I had a bit of a depression dip, plus with the pregnancy, and yeah, it was one of those ones that just didn't make it, and I was so upset about it. But I did manage to take some cuttings, and you can see here it's got quite a lot of calcium build up here, which I need to clean off. And in case you're not sure what that is, by the way, that's if you live in a hard water area and you give your plant tap water, it will start pooping calcium. So it's nothing to worry about. It's not a disease. It doesn't do the plant harm, but it just kind of looks a little bit speckled and splattered. But I'll do another video on that in more detail at another time and show you how to clean it off if you don't like how it looks like that. But I'm just leaving it like that for the example. And that's one piece of my large former golem that I had that didn't have rot in it, so I replanted it, and kind of starting again with that one. Very upset, but it is what it is, and these things can happen. So moving on, Here's my little plant stand here. So here I've got my Dracaena. I'm not sure if this is the lemon and lime. I'm really not sure, but it's the variegated one. And I've had this one for a couple of years. It's one that's not really done too badly with me. It's a slow grower, but it's growing nonetheless. It seems to be happy here. This is a new addition. It's a little cutting of a ripple jade. I got a small piece from a friend, and I've got a couple of cuttings trying to root now, so that's one of them. Here is my pot of zigzag or rick-rack cactus, and I've just repotted that, so I'm hoping that I see some more growth and rooting and not too much more rotting, as if you've seen my other video you'll see the problem I've had with that. This is my Hummel's Ghost that I took a small cutting of, so that's just, it's rooted and doing its thing. This is some more Rhipsalis. This is a pot of cuttings that I'm going to be gifting at some point, so it's the same one as this one here. This is where I took the cuttings from. And over here is another new addition. It's some cuttings, so hopefully they root. But this is a dragon fruit cactus. I forget the botanical name of it. I'll have to check it out. Or if you know, comment below. I did know it. Is it the Hylocereus undata or something? I don't know. I could be wrong. I forget. But dragon fruit cactus cuttings. So I'll have to keep you up to date about that one and see how they go, and hopefully they root. And I have a beautiful dragon fruit cactus. Because I must admit, I'm really getting into the epiphytic, are they epiphytes? I'm really getting into them. I've got a few already. I've got the Rhipsalis, I've got the dragon fruit, I've got the Christmas cactus, I've got the zigzag cactus, and yeah, I must admit I really do enjoy having them in the house. So this one is exciting for me. So over here is my bowl, well, my planter in an old stone pot, cooking pot, and I've got my Crassula rubra marginalis here. Again, it's looking a little bit sparse, but I've taken a whole load of cuttings because I have a big pot of it upstairs, which I'll show you in a little bit. But this is what's left. It was a lot bushier, and it filled out this whole section here, but I took quite a few cuttings for some friends, and now they're enjoying the plant too, because it does actually grow quite fast. I'll have to do a whole video about this one because I haven't actually done a spotlight video on this one yet, but yeah, it's definitely one of my favourite Crassulas, and I'm enjoying it. Over here is more Rhipsalis, as I said before. It's really bushed out from the cuttings I've took, and it's just doing its thing and going bananas there. Looking great. Happy, healthy, bushy, full. Very happy with that. And this is my, I think, is this an Opuntia? The Joseph Coates cactus? I forget now, but yeah, I gave away my big one because it's getting a bit too big and I was running out of space, and this is just a little pad that I took from it, which is rooted. And it's just in the middle of the pot, doing its thing, so it looks quite nice together. Here is another Ripple Jade, looking a little bit wrinkly, but hopefully it roots. Another cutting of Crassula Golem, and another cutting here. So hopefully I have some beautiful Golem Jades again. And in the corner here is my huge old Ficus. So I'll have to do a repotting video on this one again soon, because it's been in that pot for a couple of years now, so it can probably use a refresh. But you can see it's very happy, very tall, and it's almost, you see there's my roof there, so it's very tall. And here's my Euphorbia trigona. or African milk tree, and it's looking a lot happier from the last video that I done of it when I had just got it. It was looking quite wilted and sad, but now it looks a bit more perkier and greener, not so cobwebby or yellow. So I hope I'm doing a good job on this one here, because I've never owned one of these before, but I don't think I'm doing a bad job. And of course, my Monstera variegata, the 2 large cuttings in one pot, which is doing quite well, and it's gotten some new leaves, gradually more white, and this one unfortunately has got some brown on it, which from what I understand is quite normal. It can just happen. I mean, you've just got to resign yourself that you're not going to have a completely perfect looking Monstera albo, and that's just part of it. Although I must admit, up until now, I haven't really had much problem with these brown spots, but I think this is more to do with the fact that this is practically almost a white leaf. And the other leaf that's grown here is also almost practically all white. It's beautiful though. So I'm hoping that's not a trend and it's not going all white on me, so I'll have to keep an eye on that. Of course I'll keep you guys updated, but if I need to do any chopping, I'll have to make a video on that. So there's my Monstera. So over here is where I'm keeping my orchids these days, and of course my starfish sansevierias. And I know they're not sansevierias anymore, they're now classified as Dracaena, but yeah, I still call them sansevieria, sue me, whatever. So here is what I've got left of my orchids. I'll have to do a orchid update on their own, but I'm down to 6 orchids now. That's the last rescue, which since I made the rescue video, it's grown that little leaf there, so it seems to be doing well. And there's my little babe Liam with a moustache and some quizzical eyebrows. So there's my orchids. Not really much to say there. They haven't really flowered, they've just been doing their thing and living. And as I said before, my starfish sansevierias, which are both giving out a pup. I mean, this one here is the original one I got, and from this I've gotten a few pups which I separated from it, but it hasn't really grown at all since I've had it. It's just put out pups, and this is like the 4th pup that it's put out now, but there you go. And this is a pup from this one, and the pup of that one is putting out a pup of its own, so it's looking kind of cool in the pot there. Okay, and that's everything that I've got downstairs at the moment, so we'll move upstairs now. So in the living room there is of course my Dracaena marginata, the classic one that you'll see everywhere. I've still got to do an update and a repot on this one, because I was looking at the bottom of the pot and you see that? There's a root growing out the bottom, and I can see some more roots in the hole. So we're due to do a repot on that soon, but I'm not sure if it's going to be before the autumn or not, but we'll see. I'll try and do that before the autumn, because it really needs to be done. But yeah, it's doing well, growing slowly, but it's growing nonetheless, so I'm happy with that. And on the living room windowsill I've got my large pot of Rhipsalis, which I've recently repotted, but I did that off camera. Wasn't really much to see, it was just a little bit too small for the pot it was in, so I upgraded the size. And if you recognise the pot from my other videos, it's the pot that my Euphorbia trigona came in, and I'm using it as a cash pot now, not a pot without drainage. Gasp. And there's another golem cutting, so you can see that I managed to save a few pieces from my larger tree. Did I mention that I'm really upset about that? Pretty sure I didn't. And a little pup of a, oh gosh, Haworthia, that's it, a little Haworthia pup in there. And by the way, the pot that this golem is in was the pot that this Rhipsalis was in. So you can see that it's quite an upgrade for the space, because it was really pot bound. So this is a new addition, and I'm really pleased with this one. And it's one I got in a plant trade, and it's my giant Sansevieria trifasciata, or Dracaena trifasciata if you really want to be pedantic about it, but there you go. And it's beautiful, but I need to do a repot of it because the pot it came with is just like one of these plastic IKEA bins, so it doesn't actually have any drainage in there, so I've really got to sort this one out before something bad happens to it. So there it is. I'm really happy to have this one because it's like the largest one I've ever owned of this type, but I'm very happy with it. And down here is my Betonia terrarium, and that's doing well, growing slowly but growing nonetheless. And I haven't opened it since I put it in there, so yeah, it's just doing its thing. And this is my other Betonia terrarium with some cuttings that I put in there. It's the same type, the white one, so they're just doing their thing, being Betonias. Okay, so in my back window I have my jades. So if you follow my videos, you'll recognise this one, although this one's done a little bit more regrowing. But I chopped it back the last time you saw it, and it's really done well with regrowing its leaves. I'm really happy to see that. So hopefully the next time I show this off, it's done a bit more growing. This one is my other Hummel's Ghost. Unfortunately, I don't have the big one anymore, but this is the largest cutting that I took from the big one before I gave it away. Again, it was more of a space reason than anything else, and I wasn't too happy with the shape, so I figured I would start one from scratch, and maybe I take some extra cuttings from it. We'll see where it goes with that, but so far I'm actually really happy with the way it's shaping up already. And here is another curly leaf jade. This one actually has roots, so it's not a cutting, but it is the cutting that I got that I took the other cuttings from. So this one's doing really nicely, and hopefully I can get that to grow into a nice tree. So I'll keep you updated on that one, but at the moment not really much to report on that one, but we'll see how it goes. Here is my variegated jade. It's the largest one that I have. It's doing well, but this one does grow quite slowly, but yeah, I'm happy with how it's progressing, and hopefully one day I get a nice looking one, or maybe if I get a little bit impatient I buy a more mature one, but we'll see. We'll see how this one progresses, because it really does grow quite slowly. And last but not least on this windowsill, it's my other traditional jade, or Crassula ovata, with some regrowth, and I chopped it back a little bit further from the pruning video that I done. I made some extra little bonsai cuttings to give away to someone who wanted to give it a try, so I gave them a little bit of a head start with the thicker trunks. But I'm excited to see how this one shapes up, having cut it back a lot further than intended, but yeah, it's doing well, it's regrowing, so I'm not going to complain. And last but not least in this little area is my Sansevieria cylindrica, or Dracena cylindrica, whatever you want to call it. And this one's grown loads since I last did a solo video on it. It was like a really puny, shriveled up cutting I got a couple of years ago, and I double potted it, and now it's doing really well, although I think it is a little bit etiolated, but yeah, I like how it looks, so we'll see how that one grows. And the last little area here is also in the back of the house. So I've got my nice pot of aloe vera, which is really popping out nicely. It's looking good, I'm happy with that, so hopefully I'll have some more to use / give away soon. My pot of Schlumberger Buckley, or my true Christmas cactus. I've just had to give it water because it's looking a little bit thirsty, but yeah, it's quite full and bushy and getting there. Here is my little elephant tree. I don't think I showed the one downstairs. I think I completely skipped over that one by accident, but yeah, I still have it, and it's just a large version that I bought, and it hasn't really changed much. But this one I bought small with 2 little pups, and I gave the pups away, and this one has actually grown significantly. I'm really happy with that. And the bulb is getting, or the cordex is getting quite substantial now. It wasn't a terracotta pot, but there was a little accident. My husband bumped into it and broke it, so I put it in a plastic one and moved it up here. And I think it's doing really well. It seems happy. It looks quite nice. And here's one of my large Portula Caryophyra, the variegated ones. This one's done a huge amount of growth. It's actually almost as tall, well, it is as tall as this orchid stick that I put in there, so it's really, oh no, got some of my dog's hair attached to it for some reason, but yeah, it's really looking nice, doing well. Maybe I might be able to grow some sort of tree structure out of it, but we'll see how that one goes. And on this side here, it's my other one. These 2 branches here were kind of like growing horizontally, so I kind of put a wire up this way because it was cut. See if I can see it. I cut it. I'm trying to find an angle where you can see it. There. So that's where I cut the main stem there in the middle. And these 2 branches were just like growing out like this on here, so I didn't like how that was shaping up. So what I did is I took this bit of wire and I kind of tied them up. So we'll see what happens with this one, because this is my oldest piece. I think this is the original piece, and it's really starting to look a bit woody and thicker now. We'll see what happens with this one. There's a little pot of a variegated jade. That's looking healthy. This is yet another ripple jade cutting here. And my huge pot of Crassula rubra marginalis, or the calico kitten. And unlike the little bit I've got downstairs, this one gets a bit more light, and you can see here, when it's sun stressed, it takes on that lovely pink colour. As opposed to here, you can see this one's the less pink section, that's the back, and then you come around here where it's by the window. It's an entirely different shade, and I love this plant. It just looks so pretty. And last but not least, my Horthias. There's not really much to see here, they've just gotten bigger. I've taken some pups away and kept them alive, and they've just got a little bit bigger and healthier looking. And that's about it. That's all my plants, guys. I hope you enjoyed my little tour. Thanks for watching. As always, it's much appreciated. Much love. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.